See it played. Main battle area actions. I'm talking about my impressions of the first several rounds of simultaneous fire and movement, and why I'm drawn in to play more. There are a ton. There are definitely enough information markers. They were right in front of me. Right in front of me. So, as I understand it, I'm not positive, but I believe that even in the stream square, the tank platoon doesn't move. It can gain defilade. And even these contour squares, you would think that they're clear, but for this purpose, again, I believe, if I understand the rules correctly, even in those contour areas, squares, you can gain defilade. So this is what will allow, I think, in this little situation, will allow the OPFOR to get close enough to provide supporting fires with some increase in survivability. Now, I got to test this because I should point out that like for these Soviet defenders, when the U.S. units fire at these OPFOR units in defilade, yeah, we're only adding 10. Now, is 10 a lot? 10 is the exact same benefit as if the target was moving. So the U.S. firing at a moving T-80 has to add 10 to their roll, and again, higher the number, less chance of kills. And that's the same with defilade. U.S. unit firing at a target unit in defilade is plus 10 as well. Of course, you're not going to be moving in defilade, but I'm just saying, how significant is defilade in this case? Well, to put it in perspective, it's the exact same benefit as if you were moving. That's interesting. This is not major defilade. This is not major defilade. So again, I think that the point is, I think the OPFOR needs to take advantage of every possible benefit they can, but to survive, they still need to kill the enemy, which is true. Okay. There is something else I wanted to say about pure lethality. Again, an OPFOR tank company destroyed, obliterated in 7.5 minutes of fire from M1s in a wood line and in an urban area, from an urban area. I think, and I say I think because these are just kind of quick calculations off the top of my head. I'm calculating that is just about right for kind of the number of target engagements, like target exposures, engagements, refires, if kind of everything is if the situation is kind of controlled. In other words, almost like a range, in a range environment. So there's no real combat stress, no real injections of confusion or anything like that. So it's kind of, again, it's kind of in a pure mechanistic way, I think it sits about right. The U.S. forces moved up, got into position, caught the advancing OPFOR company in the open, opened fire, and again, just destroyed it. Again, I think that's okay, given kind of ideal or near, I should say, near ideal circumstances. Now, I'm going to assume that as I graduate to levels 2, 3, and 4, that maybe some added layers of rules mechanics will counteract some of that kind of range, that kind of ideal range setting effect on the setting, so to speak. Yeah, I did want to say that, so I'll be looking for that. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, see, in the basic game, you know, a U.S. platoon is a U.S. platoon, tank platoon, so on and so forth. But when I get to level, I think it's level 4, we get to variable unit capabilities. And there's a table. There's a table here. Where is it? That's the leader table. Where is it? I guess I was looking at, there it is. See, there's a variable unit table. And it's possible to roll as high or low as plus 30 or minus 30 as a die roll modifier. Now it says that the variable unit modifier determined is recorded, and it is applied to every dice roll involving the unit. So negative would be good. So it's going down, category 1 up to category 2 up to category 3, if I'm reading that correctly. Because these minus die roll modifiers would make the unit more competent in combat, resulting in being more lethal. But at the same time, some low quality units could be fairly significant. I mean, plus 30, even plus 20, can easily they can fairly easily mean the difference between instead of 3 kills only 2, or instead of 2 kills only 1, and so on. Yeah, so that's what I mean by I'm hoping some of these layered on rules at the higher levels, at the higher rules levels, will mess with this again, this kind of ideal mechanistic force on force model here. Yeah. There are some things that I could note that I want to say could be covered and explained sufficiently in the designer notes. I probably should get to those designer notes. I just like this game so much so far. I liked it when I played it for the first time a couple years ago, and just a lot of fun. But I need to get to the designer notes. Let's talk about, again, I continue to be just dumbfounded and thoroughly fascinated at the same time that there seems to be no opportunity fire of any kind. What that means is, I mean, this one, yeah. So you have your OPFOR tank company in that contour line in defilade, perfect position, perfect defensive fighting position, and this M1 Abrams platoon can go trucking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across this gap. We're talking a kilometer gap here, and slip into the wood line in one round, representing, is it really supposed to be 2.5 minutes? I'm not sure. Maybe these rounds are meant to be actually hugely overlapping or not. Again, I'm not sure. I will try to see if anything is mentioned in the designer's notes, but it seems that there's nothing to stop the platoon from doing that. don't think it's a function of, lower levels of terrain not represented on the map. In other words, maybe the designer meant that there are so many IV lines here that there's an IV line that goes like that, and the platoon went trucking across safely into the wood line, not being observed enough to be fired at from the Op 4 platoon there, even though on the map these look like perfectly open, clear areas. I don't know. I also could have simply missed something, but yeah. Anyways, intrigued. I'll see what I can figure out. The other thing, or another thing I could note, is that having lived in the German countryside exactly like this, I mean, this as nice as the German countryside is, it's not this sterile. It's not nearly this sterile. I mean, we're talking from this wood line to that wood line. Again, we're talking like 2 kilometers. And the only thing between them is some elevation changes and a road. So again, for me personally, I like rich terrain. I want to see rich terrain. I want to deal with rich terrain. But that's just one perspective. Now, okay, what looks like very empty German countryside, find interesting. However, it's not, this isn't a criticism if this applies. So if each of these squares are 250 meters, I was very surprised when I saw that the M1 Abrams is only firing out 10 squares, so only firing out 2,500 meters. I was infantry, but if I were a armor company commander, I would want my crews doing a lot better than that. Now, what I'm getting at is that maybe, and again, this is maybe something for the designer notes, I imagine, maybe the 10 square range is compensated, that is compensation for all of the terrain that's not shown on the map. And so instead of an Abrams being able to engage, let's say, Abrams being able to engage 3,000 meters away, they're limited to 2,500 because of the terrain not specifically depicted on the map. Maybe. And if that's true, then I would hope that these kill percentages are also factoring in terrain, again, not represented on the map. Now, my personal preference is for my hardware to have real, recognizable capabilities and terrain represented that interacts with that capability. But anyways, this approach is fine if indeed that's what is going on. Hope I explained that well enough. And more play. And I was wondering if Desert Victory uses the same system, was going to have longer ranges for a Middle Eastern, arid battlefield environment. But nope, it's still 10. Maybe I'm missing something. Toes going out 15. So just short of 4 clicks, 4 kilometers. Back to main battle area. Yep, the toes, same. Huh. All right. I'll continue on exploring the system. It's probably enough. Definitely want to. Well, I guess the last thing, of course, and this again might be something in designer notes, is what happens when you get combined arms here. And this is just tank on tank, meeting engagement. In real life, not something I would want to do, and I'm not being facetious. Meeting engagement, tank on tank, and that's it. I mean, yeah, not ideal. Definitely not the way to go. So anyways, we'll try some combined arms. We'll try some, prepared defender and attacker with this system, and enjoy it. Enjoy the exploration.